Hello, everyone. I'll wait and see if somebody comes in here. I'm just doing another random live, just impromptu, no scheduled time. Um, as I have a chance to. Um, See if anybody wanders in. El Tierroa. How's it going, man? Kia Ora? Just happened to see me coming on, huh? Oh, um, just been watching a lot of Star Trek clips and playing around with my story and seeing what's going on with movies and TV and just kind of on my mind. I was over on another live a while ago that was all about Trek, all about Star Trek. You're always lurking, huh? Yeah, I think a lot of people are. Hey, Tom Paul, how's it going? Yeah, didn't this isn't a scheduled kind of thing. It's not a cryptids or paranormal specific. It's not, it's just a random impromptu live because I got the time and I don't know if any of the Trekkies are going to show up. I was on another live where it was all about that uh, earlier. Um, so that's just why I'm on right now. Looks like all the paranormal people are coming in though. Hey Sandra, what's going on? You don't like you don't like comedy in the movies? Sometimes it seems okay if they don't Thor Ragnarok that bitch. You know what I mean? Um, Not that the first two Thor movies were great works of art, but I felt like they were trying to make the biggest joke out of the Thor character that they possibly could. You know, this Northern European uh, god based character in the comic book universe. I think they want to. I think they want to tear it apart, and they did. Look what they did to him, especially coming down to Endgame, the movie Endgame. Um, I mean, they had him alcoholic, arguing with kids on online games. Of course, he was way out of shape and crying to his mom at some point. Gets slapped by a raccoon to make him stop crying. I mean, they were trying to tear down the character. You can't have a strong masculine character, apparently, according to them. They want, I mean, it was crazy. The MCU was a drastic disappointment to me when Endgame came out. I mean, it was kind of messy leading up to, coming all the way through it to in some places, but but being a person interested in script writing and I'm looking at these different elements through all the movies and thinking, well, how are they going to pay this off and how are they going to play out this arc? And a lot of stuff was just flat dropped, you know. Uh, um, like the boy that helped Tony. That was one that I was like, they're gonna play him out to be one of the Young Avengers or something, right? That's what I was hoping. Um, Harley, I think, was the name of the character, and nothing. You don't see him until Tony's funeral. The character. Why did we? To me, if you're putting together a cinematic universe, everything needs to interweave back in on itself and play out and have a part. And the boy it was just like watching a TV show, the baddie of the week in a TV show, or you know the kid had no significance. So why the hell did they even bother putting him at Tony's funeral? It's just horrible writing. Aotera says, I love comedy, but they always have to have that token character that's a fool when, for the most part, it isn't done well. Yeah. Dude, they tried to make fools out of as many people as they could, and they could. I think they would have done worse. They would have done more, bad to the male. It's the male characters. Well, and one female character. That's something else. Maybe we'll get into that. But um, with Tony Stark, they probably didn't feel like they could push too far because Iron Man, people love Iron Man too damn much, and but they did kill him. um, they did kill off the character. They took Captain America out. They sent him back in time, and and now he's an old man, so he's gone. And instead of handing his shield off to Bucky, his best friend for his whole life, he hands it off to Falcon. Well, Falcon don't need a damn shield. He's a hero in his own right. How the hell he didn't get his own movie, I don't know. Really, I mean, why not? And now he's going to get a hand-me-down from Captain America. Now I know they set up a friendship with him, but Bucky's been his lifelong friend. So, and Bucky's been the one that's had this rough pass, and needs a new start, a reintroduction. Sandra says she's got to go. Nice to see you too, Sandra. Aotera says, take Stallone's Judge Dredd. As terrible as that movie was, it was made worse by the comical criminal character played by Rob Schneider. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of an interesting concept. Your judge, jury, and executioner on the street. But I never really knew much about that particular character or anything. Hilter says, "Yeah, Hollywood sucks. We all know why they gave it to Falcon." Yeah, I'm afraid to say too much, but you know how YouTube is. But so they took out Tony Stark. They took out Captain America. Thor. End of the movie. He gives up his throne. I think you remember who he gave the throne up to. How that particular actress is playing a Norse mythological figure, I don't know. I mean, I know I pick up what you're putting down. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. I think I know damn good and well why they did it. And then to hear that the next movie is going to be about her as King of Asgard and her search for her queen. Whereas Carl Urban's Dredd was awesome, but only the fans loved it. Yeah, Carl Urban's a really excellent actor. I mean, I like him. Even though the Star Trek semi reboot was kind of dumb. Carl Urban was like the perfect actor, in my opinion, to play Dr. McCoy in a reboot situation. So let's see, let's see, oh, Hulk in Ragnarok. I mean, look what well at post Ragnarok, I guess. But I mean, he's talking a little bit. He's changed a little bit. I don't mind that too much. But then later on, Hulk's hiding after he loses a battle with Thanos. I mean, I guess that's possible. Thanos is supposed to be real powerful, right? But then Hulk's hiding and won't come out. You know, and then that was in Infinity War, and then come around Endgame, the Hulk is gone, and Banner is gone, and in their place you have motherfucking Shrek. Now I know there's supposed to be a Professor Hulk and all that stuff, but that was just goofy. Just goofy. So there's 4 male leads that they destroyed. All these minorities now have to take center stage, otherwise they complain about their ethnicity being misrepresented. Yeah. But I think a lot of folks are on that side, are starting to get offended by it, the pandering, the hand-me-down shield. They have their own characters, or write new characters. But it's like they've it's not just that they want to shove all their politics into all this stuff. They also can't seem to really write. They're not good writers, I don't think. In the case of Hulk, like there should have been why did they look, if you again, they're building a cinematic universe, right? They played up this whole thing. Yeah, we're doing this big fucking thing, and then they start a relationship between him and Natasha, and then just drop it. Why? I had a lot of interesting ideas. I got notes of ideas, like if I was going to write the next movie, I make those notes. And I dare say that I could have wrote better movies for the future of the MCU. Yeah, it's like they don't got any. I mean, we saw the disaster that was Star Wars. Oh, J.J. Abrams. He was bad enough, but then Rian Johnson did the Last Jedi, the second movie, and then it was like, what the hell are we watching here? This is insane. Take Ghost in the Machine controversy with Scarlett playing an Asian. Now she has pulled out of playing a transsexual in a movie. Why? It's called acting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's been a whole. I mean, look at the ancient one too. I mean, they were afraid to have an Asian play him, because then it would be a stereotype. But then they put, I forget her name, and so they were whitewashing, right? They couldn't win, and they knew they couldn't win, from what I understand. So just stick to the comic book. I don't get it. Why don't they just stick to the comic books? Rian Johnson should be ashamed of that movie. Aotearoa. One of these days I need to figure out how to pronounce that right. Yeah, he absolutely should. But you look at him whenever people talk to him, and you could just tell he knew that it was. He knew damn well what he was doing. He knew damn well what he was doing. Tom Paul Cage says it kills me when they put their political stuff in there, but that's why it is called programs. Yeah, they're trying to use it to program people. I mean, what are you going to do? We can complain, but see, they keep doing it. There's a lot of people complaining, and then there's people out there that are pushing back for Hollywood because they support these political agendas. I'm sure you guys may have heard about the fandom menace, and it's nothing official, but it's just kind of what people have been calling people like me who don't like all this bullshit. The way they do it. Because back in the day they had stuff like that, and it wasn't a problem. I mean, I brought up, I think, on one of these one live stream about the episode where Riker, they go to that planet and none of them have a gender. Well, no, there wasn't a big backlash against it. It was an interesting. It's a unique type of alien, right? And it wasn't being too crazy about the messaging, but there was some messaging there. And then back when Kirk kissed Uhura, but nowadays it's like it's hard to explain. The way they do it is obviously to take a jab at you. What about John Cena apologizing to China about his Taiwan comment? Yep. Big strong man, but folded up. Yeah, he lost fans for that. He lost some fans because they were like, "Oh, dude, that's a weak guy right there." But it's money. It's about money. It's just money's talks. That's why it was so disappointing when Joe Rogan sold out to Spotify. And then he tried to play it like it was still going to be the same, and it wasn't going to be censored. And then they started censoring. They don't want. I bet he never interviews Alex Jones, for example, again. Alex Jones fucking nuts, but who cares if he gets an interview on Joe Rogan? Who cares if he has a channel and let him talk. Let people talk. They don't want people to talk. Disney execs had final cut that never ends well. I mean, do they get the final say in what comes? Yeah, and that's the thing. If I ever do flesh out a script, that's my biggest concern. Like, if I try to say, look, you guys must not interfere with my creative process. What I create is a finely woven tapestry. You start tugging on the threads, and it falls apart. And you end up with people on the internet saying, look, what was this stupid thing? What was that stupid thing? You're going to have some of that anyway, because no matter how good the writer is, they're going to mess some stuff up. But they do a lot of it now, and it's because, like you said, the execs interfering with the creative process. They don't know anything about it. Hey, Drake C, what's up? Thanks for showing up, man. Tom Paul says, I haven't been to a movie in years and recently stopped watching TV. I cut the cable. Yeah, me too. Left my TV behind several years back, and then I was a weekly movie watcher. Every week I went to the movies, but I got so sick of just this garbage coming out that I just decided to join in the boycott and stop going to movie theaters entirely. So they turned to someone who doesn't have a TV but watches movies every week at the theater, into a complete non-customer of the theaters now. Yeah, a lot of them got some whacked out ideas. But I think that there may be some of them that are doing what they're told. You will not get another role if you do not, say this or do that or support this issue. Hey, Mr. Lee, what's up? Just random or another random live. I'm just gonna do these impromptu, and it's not specifically to talk about anything really. Um, the titles are just going to be just kind of what things that I'm thinking about or on my mind, and then we just wherever it goes, man. Whatever you want to talk about. Something Squash About says, yes, let people talk. Absolutely. If that people can't talk, man. Hey, Rooted Expeditions, welcome. Been doing well. Just second one. Got time and thought I'd do a random live stream, and then people can just we'll just talk about whatever, you know. Um, what Cryptid says, what made Star Trek great was it pushed the boundaries, but unfortunately with today's cancel culture, they have to pander to the status quo, i.e. woke, the alphabet people, and China. Yeah. And it's not it's not all of them out there that think like that fit into the alphabet group, a lot of them don't like this crap either, but you know I don't know if you saw that special Dave Chappelle did where he was making fun of the alphabet people, and there was a transgender woman in the audience who thought it was hilarious and saw the show in like different cities, I guess, and she's laughing her ass off. But now even comedians, a lot of them aren't able to really be a comedian. Um, Aotearoa says that is what McFarlane is finding hard to get his reboot of Spawn made due to A, the violence, and B, the final cut agreement. Yeah. How much can he demand that he maintains, control, creative control? That's my concern. If I spend a lot of time fleshing out a script and send it to them, am I going to watch my baby go get slaughtered? Do I write something I don't really care that much about? Well, then I don't want to freaking write it. If I'm willing to write a script, if I'm willing to tell that story, then I actually care about the story and how it's told. Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Deck says, good afternoon, Lockbeard. Good afternoon. Mopar Bill getting back from New Mexico. Yeah. Yeah, I ain't doing anything else. I might as well do some yapping. People need to understand it's comedy. What you find offensive, others may find hilarious. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to watch Dave Chappelle if you don't like his comedy, But they want to prevent people from being able to see any kind of entertainment that doesn't make all the check marks. So I had some other in the MCU. So they kill Iron Man, They get rid of Captain America. Hulk's turned into freaking Shrek. Uh, um, Star Lord, Star Lord didn't get hit too hard. He's always been kind of the goofy character, but they make sure to call him an idiot a couple times in that last movie, and um, loses the girl through some weirdness, but he still loses the girl. Let's see. Mogi Allen's in the house. Except Paul can't stay singing karaoke. We shall see if the recording comes out. Peace and God bless. You too, man. We're not talking too much serious scripted stuff anyway. Although you might be interested in some of these things, I don't know. But speaking of Endgame, I don't know if anybody watched Star Trek Voyager in the final episode, Endgame, which some people feel like is the worst episode of Star Trek ever. Taroa Cripid says, I grew up listening to Sam Kinison and Andrew Dice Clay. That stuff was brutal. Imagine that in today's climate. Yeah. They would. I don't think they'd let it slide. But yeah, the final episode of the Star Trek Voyager series was called Endgame 2. And it just flew in the face of, a lot of the lessons that you thought that Janeway was learning. We got to keep the timeline cleaned up. This time travel, y'all are on her. He told her to her face, Voyager is on our sensors way too often because of all the time travel incidents with Voyager. She helps capture Braxton, and gets his ass out of the time travel interference game, right? And then the final episode is all about her doing the exact same thing. And so the writers, we got these time agents that show up when someone interferes with history, right? They go time traveling and they mess with history, and the time agents show up and fix it. Now, this isn't the first time in Voyager the time agents didn't show up. There was the episode with Kim and Chakotay when they went back in time and saved Voyager. So there's theories out there that in universe that the temporal agents don't interfere every time. Like if it benefits the Federation, then they sometimes let it be. But Endgame really, I really don't like Endgame because Janeway specifically was involved with that Braxton incident and helped catch him in the end. And then here she is doing the same damn thing. I mean, she's not trying to destroy the ship; she's trying to save it. But what kind of consequences would there be to the timeline from her saving it? Now, in my series idea that I got, I haven't really wrote this out too much, but Janeway gets stopped, and we go back to the original timeline. The time agents do show up; they do stop her, and that's puts us back, and that's the first thing that happens. And I'm trying to debate, is that something that I want wrote into the story? How would that be depicted on screen? It would be there would be some things that would be difficult, but I think with some finesse, it could be wrote in. But you know, and I have a major consequence is part of why she had to be stopped. But it's hard to put it in the timeline in this timeline because nobody knows that happened in this timeline. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to let the audience know about the major consequence that would have occurred if Janeway was not stopped from interfering with the timeline. And I'm leaning towards total destruction of the Federation by the Borg, but Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Decks. In a world where a good old boy is supposed to accept everyone else's state of being, old times and ways shouldn't be criticized. It's too banned. Yep. Daisy Dukes is here. Driving and listening. Smooches can't type. Yeah, don't get in a wreck. That's dangerous. We don't want you to get hurt. Aotearoa Cryptid says Patrice O'Neill was another one he lost so many opportunities due to his I don't give a fuck attitude, which was great. I am not Patrice O'Neill. I'm not sure. Was that another comedian? Tom Paul Cajun says these people can't figure out what bathroom to use. Yeah. We probably need to figure out something, but because let's be real. Which, how do you regulate such a thing? There are some men that probably shouldn't be in a restroom with little boys. I'll leave it at that. Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Deck says, Tom, honestly, it makes me sick. Daisy Duke says, hey, you all, sorry, I'm driving. No, don't apologize. You're good. Tom Ball Cajun says, it's amazing they get their medical advice from a software guy who can't cure a computer virus. Amazing. Yeah. Daisy says, have a good show. Thank you, Daisy. Michael Hayward's here. He says, Lockbeard live, loud, and clear. I'm glad. I don't know what the hell. Sometimes my signal's just weak sometimes. So, yeah, and start the last episode of Voyager was an example of just, it was lazy writing. I think that they were just, it's just like they knew that their shift was about over, and they just need to throw something on screen instead of coming up with a truly good season finale. They just threw this lazy. Like, in my opinion, time travel is almost always a lazy element anyway, and they just use the hell out of it in Star Trek sometimes. Now, that being said, I haven't really given any thought to how I would have ended Voyager, because it's over. I don't give a shit. I'm thinking future, but just like it's look at them trying to do this movie uh, this Black Widow movie, and it's not going well, right? Because nobody cares about the character anymore because they already killed her off. They should not have killed her off. Um, as I was watching things unfold and the romance begin with her and Banner, I was thinking, they need to do a reveal something like she also had a super soldier serum thing, a Russian equivalent, and it just hasn't been brought up, as part of her thing as a spy and all that for the Russians. And that somehow, that for one, explains why the hell she's still alive. I don't care how much training you've had. How the hell did she survive even the attack on New York? That was not a human feat. And so I think that they should have introduced the idea that she had super soldier serum, and that's what allowed her and Banner to conceive and have children. Well, now I don't think we're ever going to see children from Hulk. I mean, I think there's some cool stories that could come out of his offspring. And of course, she's dead. They killed her off, and I think they killed her off because she was a strong female character who was sexy, who wasn't manly about it. She was still tough and feminine without acting or looking halfway like a man, like Teela does in the new He-Man cartoon, right? I don't know if have any of y'all seen this? Teela and her, some people theorize her girlfriend and even Evelyn all have basically the bodies of men. Kevin Smith, you are, I don't know how much he has control over the drawing part of it, but I'm sure he had something to do with it. Let's see. Tom Paul Cajun says they criticized me for how I was born. Yeah, they do. Bigfoot Anons in the house says, hey everyone, just got done adventuring with Donnie Miller. Standing Goats Rescue, I believe. Mr. Lee says, Michael Hayward, have you had a Sasquatch encounter? Yeah, I don't know if we've heard if Hayward had anything. I don't know what swamp refers to. Tom Paul Cajun saying hello to Anon. Michael Hayward says, no, sir, Mr. Lee. So he hasn't had a Bigfoot encounter. And neither has Mr. Lee. Well, maybe, I've told my story, which is not a great one at all. I'm not even sure what I saw. But I would certainly like to see one. Supposedly there's been sightings around these parts, and especially you get further south from here down into the Kaimichi area. Michael Hayward says he is not sure he wants to see a Sasquatch. Mr. Lee prefers She-Ra. You watched the old She-Ra? I think I did too, because it was part of the He-Man universe. So it was, I watched that. That was one of my favorite things when I was a kid. I had the damn Castle Grayskull toy and all that. I had all that shit. And I'm not watching the new cartoon. I've watched some, reviews, spoiler reviews and stuff, and clips of it, and then I've been seeing in the news how this whole thing's unfolding with Kevin Smith, and a lot of people are criticizing the new He-Man show that Kevin Smith's made. I mean, I used to, like his stuff, you know. Uh, uh, some of you have uh, mentioned the Clerks playlist that I got. I was trying to piece it together where you almost had the whole movie on that playlist, but it's missing some pieces. That was a good movie, you know. Um, and he did those other ones, a lot of them with Jay and Silent Bob, and Dogma. I really liked Dogma. That was good. But he has gone full woke with this He-Man cartoon. So it's crazy. And He-Man's not even hardly in it. They killed him off. It's about Tila, really. Well, if you want to have a cartoon about Tilo, I guess have one, but don't don't tell us you're going to have a He-Man story and then you're not really having a He-Man story. And then there's that whole deal where she got all mad. He's dead, and she's all mad that they kept the secret from her about Adam being He-Man. Well, dude, he's dead. Just shut the fuck up. I guess she's a dude now. I don't know. She's look. I mean, she's got the body of a man. It's crazy. So I know I'm missing some stuff from the MCU that I had complaints about. It seemed like they were tearing down all the male characters, though. It seems that Thor is in that last scene, or was one of the last scenes. Thor's on the ship and with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and dude seems like he's about crazy. It was kind of a funny scene, but he's supposed to be king of Asgard. Where's this going? And there's rumor that his ex-girlfriend is going to be Thor now. Like, I guess she's going to get his hammer, and now she's going to be the god of thunder or some crazy shit like that. Oh my gosh, man! And they do this everywhere. Michael Hayward says she's been dating Orko. Well, didn't they kill Orko too? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Masters of the Universe hasn't never been a great story. I mean, they were just trying to sell toys, and I mean, what are you going to expect? But I think it's an example where they're finding out, where they're trying to take anything that my demographic liked our whole lives or as a kid and tear it down. And I've talked about this before, how that's a form of psychological attack. So while, yes, it's just a stupid cartoon, or this is just that stupid movie, that aside, I see what they're really doing, what their intent is, and it's an attack. For a human being, it's an attack, and I don't think a lot of people think about this. That human intellect, human psyche, our psychology, developed under the circumstances of we gathered around a fire, and we told stories, and we sang songs. We inspired the young with these stories and songs. We taught lessons. We expanded our minds. Our intellect is built on
this. So when someone tears down your myths, your legends, they're trying to attack you. And sometimes they're doing it without even realizing that's what they're doing. But it's a form of psychological attack, and that's my complaint. Michael Hayward says, straying too far from what made it popular. Yeah, He-Man, yeah. I think a skilled writer could write it into a really cool story if they want to. If they really love the He-Man stuff and all that, they could write that into a really cool story. It would have to be a fantasy genre. It would. I don't think you could make it into believable sci-fi, but it could be a fantasy story. Although you might be able to write it into believable sci-fi, I don't know. I mean, but there's some weird ass characters, you know. So whatever. Have you guys been following the new Star Trek series by chance? The Picard and Discovery, and what they've been doing with those shows. I'm not going to make any effort not to drop spoilers, so if folks don't want spoilers. And again, I consume everything now through spoiler reviews and synopses and watching clips and stuff like that. I don't watch their stuff. I don't subscribe to their services. I just don't. But in the case of Picard, just all kinds of ridiculousness is taking place, and at the end, he becomes an android. They download his consciousness into a soon, data type android, and now they're wanting to make it a second series. I'm not sure if that's totally been greenlit yet, but so now we're going to have a Picard, the second season of Picard, but it's not Picard. It's a copy of his consciousness in an android, because it ain't really Picard if it's copied to an android, right? And Q shows up, which Q in the Next Generation TV show, Q was there from the very beginning, and he was always showing up every so often to jack with Picard, and he seemed to have some particular interest in Picard and working on him for some reason. And so, yeah, if you're going to have a Picard series, Q needs to show up. But, there's a reality of life is that people get older, and John Delancey, is old now. So Q is supposed to be an omnipotent being, so how is he old now? And then brainstorming on my series, my Star Trek series idea, Q has some involvement in what happens, because the main character is Picard, and Q, to my mind, based on the story that's been told so far, must be involved, and that's just all there is to it. Otherwise, the whole story flow is off. I mean, you can't just drop Q, so you would need a new actor or something. I've been playing around with the idea that he does do things, but it's kind of off screen, and you kind of find out through the telling of the story. Got to think more on that and how that would come out. But they're going to use John Delancey apparently, because there was a trailer out with John Delancey, and he's old, so they'll probably find some way to explain it in universe that, or that he's just appearing old because the card's old or whatever. But I don't think they should have done the series at all. Tom Cajun says no, he doesn't want to get pissed off, so he's not even going to watch them. Yeah, probably better off. The craziness of seeing going on in the Discovery now, it's like it's from way back in history, and it looks more advanced than some of the newer, series. So it kind of takes you out of the show. You're like, how come they got all their ship looks so much more advanced, and they come from a time, like, I guess it was before Enterprise even. I can't remember exactly what year they're coming out of, and they end up in the future, and somehow some alien links up with all the dilithium in the universe and causes all the warp ships that were at warp, I believe, to blow up, and pretty much ended most warp travel. But one thing in the show, they have a character with the last name of Stamets. He's named after Paul Stamets, and this character invented the spore drive that somehow operates off a network in space of a fungus. Well, I'm sure that sounded cool to people, but I don't think they understand mycology, for starters. And Paul, the name Stamets, gets my attention because, I first read his book on psilocybin mushrooms, I don't know, 25 years ago, I think. Something like that. I'm familiar with the guy. There's a real life mycologist. His name is Paul Stamets, and that's where they got the idea. And I guess somebody thought it would be cool. Now, bringing fungal biology into Star Trek, I'm all about doing some of that, but this whole spore drive thing is just ridiculous. So, is there anything anybody else wants to talk about in particular? Seems like we're quieting down. So they destroyed all our shows. They tear apart every character, kill them off. Yahoo and Star Wars, that whole line, killed us in the past or whatever. Or how do you put it? Kill it if you have to. He kills his father. He kills what is the DOJ hiding? I don't know. What do you think they're hiding? Could be a lot of things. Could be a lot of things. It's federal government, man. They're up to all kinds of no good. They do nothing but lie. So, yeah. Tracy Bennett says, we want the 1,400 hours of video footage. Well, yeah. We do, but are we gonna get it? I don't know. Sasquatch, Wizard, and Iron Deck says you can't type. I'm driving. That's okay, man. We don't want you to get in a wreck. Trace it being the agents, which the DOJ agents. Madam Speaker was behind this, Tracy says. Well, maybe. She's probably behind a lot of things. I mean, how she been sitting there all these years? You know, how does anyone take her seriously? Tracy says the FBI. Yeah, what did he say in the movie? I forget the name of that movie. Federal Bureau of Intimidation is what he called it. What are you, some kind of instant Indian? I think that was Val Kilmer playing that character, and he had a vision, and there was like an environmental issue in the movie, and he was on a reservation. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Tracy, that they're hiding so much from us. They you know, I think they didn't put a lot of effort into that document they released because they knew we all weren't going to be buying it anyway. You know, they admitted to the existence of UFOs because they had to. They couldn't deny it anymore. Too many witnesses, too many cameras. So they had to admit that there are UFOs, but they didn't have to admit what they were. And so they chose to say that they don't know what they are. And after all these decades of lying, do any of us believe that they don't know what they are? I certainly don't believe them. I think they know a lot more than what they're telling us. Michael Haywood remembers the name of the movie. It was Thunderheart. Yeah. That was it. It wasn't a bad movie. Mr. Lee 3PO says, Lockbeard, suppose you find a large Sasquatch body. You're asking me my same question I asked a bunch of other people. How would you go about getting this evidence to the public without Big Brother confiscating it? Well, this kind of depends on what resources you have available to you. If you have a large deep freeze, it probably won't even fit a Sasquatch body. I would suppose that if you found one, it isn't like it just died, so it's probably smelling pretty rank. It may be full of maggots. However, if it's laying there, it depends on a lot of things. Is this a location where you don't think anyone's going to be? Then maybe it's best to cover it over with leaves and let it finish rotting and then retrieve the bones later. You're certainly going to have a lot easier time hauling out bones. What I might do, though, is remove the head and then throw that in the deep freeze. And then just don't. I wouldn't tell anybody about it, no matter how much you trust them. People, I think, are programmed to do some level of gossip. Information exchange is part of our survival mechanism, I think. So just keep it under your hat. You're the only one that knows. Keep it that way. And then if you really want to reveal it to the public, um, first hide some samples from the body, some hair. Oh yeah, also when you take the head, take a bunch of hair with skin samples. You know, so get a bunch of them, and then hide some somewhere. You know, you're going to have a freezer somewhere to hide some, because pretty sure they're going to show up and try to confiscate everything when you do this. But if you really want to reveal it, I think you need. See, now, Bigfoot conferences, these guys are all up in there, guaranteed. You know they are, looking for any sign anybody's actually got any evidence. So, you're almost going to have to roll up to the stage while someone's speaking and take over. Pull the head out, throw it on the stage, and then in front of a crowd. And then hopefully that makes it hard for them to deny it. Maybe have some of your hair samples, you know, in a cold pack, you know, with some dry ice or something frozen that you can give to some people there. Because this is assuming you're trying to get the proof of Bigfoot exposed at all costs, but you would have to do something like that, and then maybe have some of the bones there as well. But most of the bones I would have hidden as well. Yeah, you don't want all your eggs in one basket. So now that I've said that, if I come rolling up to a Bigfoot conference with an ice chest, I'm going to get tackled. Tom Paul Cajun says the whole government is corrupt. Yeah, I think they have been for a very, very long time. I think of them as the worst enemy of the American people on the planet. They tell me that there's these Middle Easterns people that want to kill me, and China's a threat, and Russia's a threat, and all. None of these people have ever jacked with me, but the government has. You know, they rolled up one day and tried to tell me I broke the law. I didn't, but it was kind of perplexing, really. Why are you trying to convince me that I broke the law? Why aren't you just arresting me? Tom Paul, awesome question, Tom Paul must not remember me asking that to a bunch of people before. It's good to try and get other ideas, because that, you know, what I told you is about all I can think of. You know, because I mean, obviously, you want to take a bunch of pictures, take some video as you retrieve your samples and retrieve the bones, and probably simultaneously throw that on the internet when you're throwing that head on that stage at the conference. It's a multi-vector attack, you know, so that they don't have a chance to stop it all. And then you're probably gonna find yourself sitting in a room somewhere being asked a lot of questions. I don't know. I don't know how serious they are about this. They might just say, "Oh, gigs up, boys. Let's pack it in," or they might take you into custody. Mr. Lee says this is one of Lockbeard's questions to Tom Paul. Yeah, I guess I should answer. You know, Tom Paul Cajun says in pieces. Tom Paul Cajun also says, bring it to the BFRO, LMAO. Yeah, I ain't telling the BFRO a damn thing. Now, after I throw that head on the stage, I might call up Moneymaker to gloat. Try to sanitize that sighting, asshole. Mr. Lee says, what body parts would you keep? Yeah, definitely take the head. That's probably the most important part in general. And because a lot of people said they take a head, a hand, a foot. You know, if it's feasible to haul all that out of there, sure. I mean, if you're dealing with a 900-pound or 1,200-pound animal, you know, you're talking about hauling out a lot of meat there, and especially if it's rotting. Um, Considering what I've seen on one show in particular, I hate to cut off his junk, but I think I should probably cut off his junk, freeze it, and then ship it to Joe and Molly. Now, who knows why I said that? Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Dex says they would stoop to planting a boom. Yeah, I mean, that's a scary thought. Do they always have these conferences rigged to go up just in case? You know, how much have they thought this through? What are they willing to do? We're talking about the same government that you know, I know people say, well, this is far back in history, but they did it. They gave those blankets to the Indians, right? They have no problem committing horrendous crimes and killing people to get what they want, including our own citizens. Michael Haywood says, open the freezer, look beside Bigfoot's head, and get the fish sticks. Well, I wouldn't have fish sticks. Those things are nasty. Bigfoot Anon says, F the government and NASA. Tracy Bennett says, don't take anything to the Smithsonian. No. I can't say I'm 100% sure that they've done the things they've been accused of, but to be on the safe side, I mean, seeing how much they control so much, and it's probably a reasonable assumption to think that they probably got their fingers in the Smithsonian, and yeah. And I think the best thing to do is to drop evidence right in front of people in person. You know, can't be video on the internet. It needs to be the physical remains in front of people. Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Dex says, hide 100 different parts of Sasquatch in airtight caches hidden in the woods in different states and show one piece at a convention and hold the rest ransom. Wait a minute, I can make money on all this? I need to find some Sasquatch. I know that's been a criticism for some people in the Bigfoot community that there's people making money on it who don't seem to be truly care about the subject, about learning anything, or they just want to sell a book, and it may not have a lick of truth in it. In some cases, I don't begrudge someone selling books, but if they're misleading people, you know, there's people buying these books and they really care about the subject and they really want to know the truth. So unfortunately, in a subject like this, where we don't even actually have proof they exist, really, and so it's easy for someone to just lie and use it as a cash grab. So, I think we should have tried to identify those cases and make it known. But yeah, Mr. Lee, I think that's what I would do if I were found the body. Um, if it was feasible to drag the whole thing out and freeze it, I would. But it's just, it'd be hard to pull this off and not end up with a confiscation. I mean, you'd even, like, I'm leery of having a cell phone on me in the woods, because your cell phone will track you, So, if anyone doesn't think the government will use that data to figure out where you've been, where you got what you got, where you took it, they probably know everywhere you've been if you have your cell phone on you at all times. This is why I recommend everybody have a metal box or something that you can stick your cell phone in some of the times. So let's say you're going to a favorite spot to camp, and there's not a signal anyway, but they're going to have an idea where you're at. They'll see what road you were going down, and for all we know, there is a better signal, or the government can at least pinpoint a cell phone, even if the cell phone doesn't have enough signal to function for phone calls and texting and stuff. I don't know. But, if you stick that phone in a, metal box, or in, some foil lined bag or something where no signals can get in or out, then it would prevent you from being tracked at all. I guess it depends on how paranoid you are. But if you're going to your squatching spot, maybe you should do that. Now, if you're using your phone to film, and I guess you're out of luck on that deal. But if you're not, you want to keep that spot absolutely secret, because you want to find the truth, but you want people to know the truth, but you don't want to endanger the Sasquatch in that area by giving away their location. You may want to do something like it's kind of it's a Faraday cage, basically. You're putting your phone inside a Faraday cage that blocks the signals. Anything metal, or it can be probably screen wire, but I think a solid metal is even better. But yeah, it's probably going to take absolute secrecy on your part if you find anything, because it's just too easy. People talk. If you say anything on your cell phone, man, somebody knows it. If I have like right now, this conversation, if I jump on YouTube on my phone, sitting over here, it's been listening to this whole conversation, and I will see unusual suggestions on YouTube of videos for me to watch that pertain to some of the subjects I'm talking about. Sometimes it'd be hard to see that happening if you look at that kind of stuff on YouTube, but I've had conversations, and that something that I never watched or the other person's never watched on YouTube, but the conversation of some subject, and then YouTube starts sending videos of that subject. So it's listening. That phone is listening at all times. It's a surveillance device, and everyone needs to be mindful of that. It's convenient. I know. It's just, yeah. Tracy Benna says, I want to read the Hoopah Projects, Tribal Bigfoot, and Scott Carpenter books. Yeah, I haven't read any of that stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's in it, what exactly they got going on in there, but I just don't know. I don't know that I can trust those people. I mean, you can try and evaluate them based on what you've seen them do, but it's just really hard to say. Sandra Piper says, Lockbeard, that is true. I think she's referring to the surveillance device. Mr. Lee 3PO says, Lockbeard, if you could know one thing about the Sasquatch, what would you want to know? I only get to know one thing. I want to know everything. I'd like to know if I'm right about what they are. I think that they are a race of Homo sapiens. But whatever they are, I would like to know what they are. I would like to know, if they are as intelligent as we are. Do they understand? Do they truly understand what the hell's going on here? Now there's people out there that say they're psychic and they go through portals and they can cloak and all this stuff. And if any of that's true, I want to know that too. So, but I have my doubts. Just one. Yeah, I'd like to know if I'm correct about what they are. Tom Paul Cajun asks, Sandra, you feeling well? Hopefully she is. Mr. Lee, do you have any other ideas of what a person could do to get the information to the public, get the proof to the public under that scenario? Sandra says, hi, Tom Paul, getting over COVID, doing better. Mr. Lee, I haven't heard from her since yesterday. I don't know. Tom Paul Cajun says, great, Miss Sandra. Tracy Benna bringing up the infamous David Paulides. She says David Paulides does discuss that they are human hybrid. He wrote the Hoopah Project and Tribal Bigfoot. Well, I'd wonder what he meant by human hybrid. The word hybrid carries certain connotations. Like it just. I don't really like using the word hybrid. Like you could call me a human Neanderthal hybrid, but be more. I think it's better to use the word interbred, or mixed race, or which that's commonly what we would say in that case with humans is mixed race. Because I think Neanderthals. Well, I think that the DNA proves it. The Neanderthals were just another race or subspecies of humans. So the same species as us that That's the only way they could have completely blended in with our type of human. And we know that they did. And so they're Neanderthals are our species. So if Sasquatch interbred with humans at any point, they are human. They're not another species. That's the definition. At least that's the definition that I think everyone should stick to. Some people don't stick to that. There's a little bit of debate in science of how you define a species, and we talked about this a lot last night. They name stuff as separate species when they can interbreed with each other, and I'm like, no, they're the same animal. They're the same species. So I don't know what David Paulides means when he says human hybrid. If he's saying that they are the result of a blending between our kind of human and another race that was obviously much bigger than they are, which how would that breeding take place? Because looking at the reports of the size of Sasquatch is now, it would seem unlikely that breeding would be very successful. But yeah, if that's what he means, is today's Sasquatch actually not a pure breed? I don't know. And we're not going to know any of these things until we get some physical specimens, some DNA analysis, and figure out what they are. Tom Paul Cajun says, I think they can also track the Bigfoot. Maybe they're chipped. Well, if I was in their shoes, I certainly would have them. I mean, putting myself in their mind, they want to control everything, and they can't get Bigfoot to carry cell phones like we so willingly do. So, if I was them, yeah, I would crank every last one of them and put trackers in them. Now, I'm not them, I'm me, and me thinks that we should leave them the hell alone and try not to encroach on them any further and let them live in peace in nature, and probably try to learn some things from them, because they aren't destroying their own habitats. We are. So, who's the smarter species or smarter race? Took down the tower. Sasquatch Wizard Antarctic says, yeah. You gotta be careful bringing that one up. I said that on another show in the chat one day, and dude lost his shit. He took a great offense to the suggestion that the federal government was involved with that. And I think that people that aren't aware they didn't put much thought into it beyond what the news told them. They didn't pay attention to the investigation, or how about the firefighters who were demanding, the truth, that knew that something was up, something wasn't right. I mean, it fell perfectly, right? That's enough right there. But then you ask people, have they heard of Building 9? It was another building there that fell, and nothing hit it. Man, if our buildings are falling down that easy, man, we need to get some new engineers. But I mean, I bet some people in the chat here have never heard of Building 9. The government isn't going to tell you that there was another building there that fell and nothing hit it. And there's some other things having to do with that building, that people might want to hear about because it's very interesting. And then, so what happened? What really happened there? Tracy Bennett says, nobody wants to believe our government would do anything terrible. Yeah. Our government would never do anything terrible like drop nukes on 2 cities full of women and children instead of using them on military targets. We're going to blow up 2 cities. Now, people can argue that ended the war, blah, blah, blah. Look, we didn't need to get in that war. Let Europe fight. They'll run out of steam at some point and stop. Whatever. But a lot of people have been convinced that the bad guys would have won and then taken over the world. Well, I don't know that they would have been able to pull that off. Because if they did set their sights on the United States, assuming the United States stayed out of that war, they already would have been worn down pretty bad. It wouldn't have been probably as many American deaths. And, I had a veteran one day stop me in the store, and we were talking about stuff, and he brought up Pearl Harbor, and he said, and I don't know how true it is, he said that Pearl Harbor was a setup, that they just kind of those ships are old stuff lined up there on purpose to be bombed in order to give the government a good reason to get into that war. And they needed a reason, an attack to piss off the American people so that they would have public support for getting involved in World War II. And it's a tactic that works. I mean, the tower's going down. That got people pissed off and willing to support our country going to war with these people in the Middle East. Countries that are drastically weaker than ours. I don't know. It's crazy. I can't buy it. I mean, they lie about everything. So that alone should make you question what they told us. Tracy Bennett says, I did years later on Patriot Hour. That's where you heard about Building 9. Yeah. Yeah. That's the funny thing about this world we're in. We have endless information at our fingertips. But people don't see certain pieces of information they really need. Because they don't go look for it. If they went, if they knew that it was there, but see, they already, when you say this to them about Building 9, they are immediately going to assume you're just some crazy nut, that there was no Building 9 that went down, or hell, maybe Building 9 doesn't even exist at all in their mind. Because the news never told them about that, and the government never told them about that. So, that's where they get their programming, and that's it. So was the Titanic a setup? That's what I've heard. Oh, Brandy's wandered in. What's up?
You remember think I'm not here? What? You really think I'm not here? Then popping in and out. Well, I figured you'd be around. Um, what's up? What's up? VPXM. We have a new person. Started out talking about science fiction, Star Trek, MCU, that kind of stuff. Kind of talking about government conspiracies right now, paranormal, or Bigfoot, or whatever you want to talk about. What do you got? VPXM, have you heard about Building 9? Does that mean anything to you? Because in everyday life, anytime the subject has come up and I bring up Building 9, a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? They never heard about it. And I think that's, it is definitely by design. Why wouldn't, yeah, you got it, 9/11. Yeah, the news wasn't telling us about that, and the government wasn't telling us about that. They're already having a hard enough time explaining how the Twin Towers went down as it is, and without having to explain how Building 9 went down when nothing even hit it. Another thing I thought was interesting, of course, we ship stuff around the world, stupid stuff, that I'm like, why is it cheaper to make this over in China instead of here? But we do it all the time. But apparently all the scrap metal from the towers going down was sent to China. Why? Why can't we recycle that here? Or why isn't that, seriously, being stored as evidence of a major crime that was perpetrated on our country? Could it be that they wanted to send it as far away as possible, where it would be melted down and all the evidence would be destroyed, and no one would ever show up later and say, we found new evidence on some of the steel, and we've been able to trace where the thermite, if thermite was involved, where it came from, or who knows what they would have been able to find out from that evidence. But that evidence was shipped off and I guess melted down in China. I don't know. It's gone. Brandy asked, are there people actually hunting Bigfoot willing to kill? I don't know. Some people say they want to kill him. I hope they don't. I hope they're like some of the people that have said when they looked at a Bigfoot, they were like, this looks like a person to me. I can't shoot it. VPXM says evidence goes by. Bye. Yeah. Yeah, it's all gone. I wasn't of the mindset at the time when it happened, but me today, if something like that happened and I had the ability to get to the site as quickly as possible and just grab anything I could to preserve some evidence, I don't know. Brandy says she doesn't agree with that, by the way, but she's curious about someone shooting Bigfoot. And she says, how strong of a tranquilizer would one need is the question. Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's a totally new animal. We may not have any guarantee that our normal tranquilizers would work at any dose. I would think, because I think they're a human race, that something that would work on people would work on them, just larger doses. Tracy Benna says, then Bush was reading with an elementary school class, and all the words read related to 9/11 before and as if it was happening. Really? I haven't heard that one before. That's strange. And he was saying them out loud, right? So maybe we should go back and revisit that video. Michael Haywood says, you can hunt just as hard with a trank gun as a real gun. Yeah. VPXM says, right now it looks like there are two factions on outside running the world. The third is behind the curtains controlling the two. All three controlling general public. Well, I've seen a lot of conspiracy claiming some of that stuff, but is there proof, though? That would be my question. What's the proof of that? I'm sure there is people pulling strings. I just, there's been a lot of claims made, and with no true evidence that I am aware of. Tracy Bennett says, elephant-sized tranquilizer, yeah. Brandy says, all this is difficult because I don't pay attention to the bullshit lies spewed by we all know who. But, as a parent, how to teach your kids about this crap? I don't know. You teach them. I mean, it's almost like you have to teach them early because they're going to go to school and get taught what's there unless you're homeschooling, and not everybody is able to host homeschool. They got to work jobs and stuff, so you got to send a kid to public schools. Not an ideal situation. So all I know is you probably need to get as much taught to them as you can before they ever get on a school bus. And hope for the best. BPXM says, I think this primitive hunting crap needs to go. Brandy says, explosion went off before plane hit, right? I'm not sure. I know some are making that claim, but I'm not sure. I saw one news broadcast, I think it was in Great Britain, maybe. It was in Europe somewhere, where she was reporting, I think it was a woman, she was reporting that the tower, one of the towers, or both of them maybe, went down, and then behind her, through the window, you could see it or something, which I guess she would have had to have been right there in New York, but I want to say it was someone who was foreign, but I don't know how you know that's true. Tracy says, oh, Biden. Yeah. VPXM, it's like, how can you prove aliens exist? LOL. Can you prove love? Well, and what is, some people think love is like a basic force in the universe, and I used to like a quote from if any of y'all ever watched that crazy series Xena Warrior Princess, and her enemy, I forget her name. It was a blonde woman who was just a badass fighter. And she said, "Love is just a trick that nature plays on us to get us to breed." But how do you prove aliens exist? Huh? Well, I mean, you can't unless you have, you find one and you can show genetically that it didn't originate from here. That's one of the things with people who, there's all these sightings of the gray aliens, right? And people see that and it looks alien to them because they just, I guess they think it looks alien to them. But what I see there is something that's, if it's true that people are seeing this, and I'm seeing the basic human form, right? Who's to say that the real world isn't Star Trek? There isn't, a universe full of aliens that all look almost exactly like us, except they got a different wrinkle on their head or spots or something. There's to think that the most predominantly seen alien looks like a small type of human. It just seems ridiculous to me. The first alien we run into is going to look just like us. There could be others that look very similar to us, but more than likely, I would say it's far more likely that if those grays are real, I'm not saying they are, but if they are, that they are a race of people too. So, as when I say with Sasquatch, I think they're a human race as well. So looking at the dog breed example of how something very different could be part of the same species. You got St. Bernards would be your Sasquatch version, a pug dog would be your human, and a Chihuahua would be the gray aliens, right? Very different looking individuals, but all the same species. So it's not that far-fetched to think that they might be from here. So, yeah, if someone finds a gray alien, and they shouldn't assume it's an alien. It could be human. It could be from here. So, and then some people theorize they're from another dimensions, and that's just a whole nother level of what the fuck. But Brandy says, "What's your opinion on the possibility that the government has purposely preserved national forest parks, etc., for Bigfoot?" Possibly, considering who the president that was involved. Possibly, I don't know. Juanita says, "Halito Lockbeard." Hello, Juanita. Mr. Lee 3PO thinks those national forests were preserved for Bigfoot. It's possible, I think. Considering the president had a sighting himself and all that stuff. Remiel's rolled up in here. Hello, Remiel. Randy says, "Miss Leah hadn't ever even considered it until someone said it to me. Were their intentions good or bad, if that's what they've done?" Yeah, it'd be hard to say. We'd just be speculating, but yeah. Maybe the idea was to help reduce interactions. So maybe the idea was to hide Sasquatch. Maybe it was the only thing they could figure to do at the time, and maybe now they've got the option of spotting them with satellites from orbit, and maybe they decide to eradicate them now. Who knows? I don't know any of this stuff, but BPXM says present kids' education is complete crap. They learn more being online than any class. Teaching them to weed out BS is an important trick. Yeah. Teach them to actually think logically, critical thinking, and they'll probably figure out the bullshit on their own if they got a good basis in that objective reasoning. Some more hellos going on. Brandy says the school system is a joke. Ashley says that's hiding information. Brandy says Spanish is mandatory now. Nothing wrong with learning another language, but why can't kids choose? Started my kid in 4th grade. Oh, I think that they know full well what the future of our nation is going to be. You have millions of people who have come into the country who speak Spanish, and this is a population of people that have a lot of kids, and there's less time in between generations for them, because on average they have kids when they're younger than our population does. And when they do have kids, they have fewer kids. This is a recipe for we're about to be replaced as the primary population here. English-speaking people are breeding way too slow in this nation to we're being replaced. So we probably should all learn Spanish. And I mean, do we accept this future for our nation? Do we think this is a good thing? Are we a culture worthy of being preserved? And are we dangerously treading on nationalistic talk here? Because it's a demographic change that will not stop unless you stop it, right? How do you stop it? If you want to stop it, and if you want to stop it, are you a bad person for wanting to stop it? Because there will be people that say you are, and other people believe that we need to protect the culture and the character of our nation as it is, and they're going to be labeled the R word if they say that. Now, I think the government could very easily turn the tide. All they got to do is take away the incentives for people to come here, right? If tell the employers, look, if you hire an illegal immigrant, you will go to jail. There's not a fine, you will go to jail. The reason why you don't have a fine is because some of these businesses, even around these parts, they pay the fine and keep doing it because it's just the cost of doing business for them. It's so much cheaper to hire illegal immigrants that they'll just pay the fine. That's why you don't do a fine. You throw them in jail. Say, look, you've committed a crime, you're going to jail. And then you take those illegal immigrants and you put them out the country, and you keep them out. But they don't seem to want to keep them out. They're not making any effort to stop it. And part of that's because half the country seems to think you're evil for stopping it. And I get it. They're just people looking for a better life. But while they're coming here to look for a better life, they're not making their country better, which means the people that are leaving behind are going to be in worsening conditions going forward, and will find themselves in more and more horrible lives. These people need to go home to save the rest of their people from corrupt governments, and all kinds of crazy stuff's going. I mean, I know a guy that he was an illegal immigrant. He's legal now, and I've talked to him about some of the stuff going on down there. Because once he got legal, he was able to go and finally visit his mother after like 20 years or something like that. And the crazy shit that's going on down there is unbelievable. You don't hear about it here. They don't tell you about it on the news, but it's freaking nuts. And people shouldn't have to live like that. But part of the reason why it's like that is because everyone that's coming up here is kind of left them high and dry instead of staying there and making their country better. But yeah, we can keep them out by getting rid of the incentives. Stop. Like we were busing some of their kids across the border every day to go to school at one of our schools. I mean, that's how far we've gone to incentivize and just kind of just say, hey, come, we don't care, come on in. Giving them welfare, allowing them to work. Landlords should be held responsible if they rent to them. Hold our citizens responsible when they break the law by providing shelter, jobs, comfort to people who have illegally came here. And I probably just made some enemies, but every other nation maintains borders. Mexico maintains borders. Why can't we? WPXM, Senior Warrior Princess. Yeah, it was a goofy show. Yeah, they were building up to them too. Just straight up lesing out too, weren't they? Well, they kind of did in that one. It was kind of like a vision or something where they kissed. Oh gosh, this chat. This is very good general, i.e. useless chat. I like it. But see fit me to release gigs of collected info data, I should be gone permanently. I'm not sure what part of that means. Just glad Sandra's feeling better. What do you think? You? Remiel says it crossed my mind sometime that the gray aliens witnesses reports could be like robots or biomechanical. Yeah, some people have suggested that. But no one's showed any evidence. Remiel, you are very close, man. So I guess he agrees with you about the biomechanical aspect. Just thought the grays are just artificial intelligence piloting craft. I just don't know. I mean, no one showed any. I mean, of course, how you prove you need one. So that it just hasn't been proved till then. It's just speculation, or someone could say they saw that, but how do I know that they're not lying, or they weren't mistaken, or had a dream, or tripped some serious balls? Tracy Bennett says in the 7th grade, my kids had to take Spanish, German, French, and another language for a semester, and then they could choose to further learn a language. Yeah, that sounds cool. I think it should be standard that every kid learns a language, but maybe not choose something like Spanish. Go with Russian. Yeah, Russian, like completely different alphabet, and I learned a little bit of Russian, but I don't remember anything now. VPXM, yep, that's a good hypothesis. Brandy says, I was just watching something on the Anunnaki, and there were parts to this version I've never heard before. I am really curious about the translation of the 14 tablets. It keeps changing, interesting. Yeah, I haven't looked very closely into that. Fear sells, bullets and booms. Yep. Because they tend to vote Democratic. Wow, Tracy, that's a lot of talk. I assume you're talking about the illegal immigrants. Wow, Tracy, that's a lot on a child. Brandy says, Sasquatch, Wizard, and Iron Duck says they gotta feed the military complex. Yeah. Tracy Bennett says Biden does not want Cuba coming because they tend to vote Republican. Cubans, yeah. BPXM says Remiel idea was very close to the movie Avatar, except for extraterrestrials here. Maybe, who knows? Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Ducks says, I absolutely love our men and women in the forces and love our country, but it's unfortunate that there are bad apples in the bunch. Yeah. Brandy says, just realized I'm behind. Sorry, you're all right. Tracy Bennett says, Brandy, it was just basics. My daughter likes it. My son, well, not so much. BPXN, do you have a channel? Yes, albeit shadow banned. Yeah, like half of us are, right? Remiel says VPXM, yes, it could be possible that interdimensional travel may have stresses on flesh and blood beings, so they might use droids or something like remotely controlled avatars. Sounds like some of the cool sci-fi movies. It's just, speculation. Hey, I lean towards whatever is the most likely scenario. If we see something here, the most likely place it came from is always going to be here, right? You start talking about interdimensional beings. Well, we haven't even proven that there's an interdimensional world. That's science fiction. So it's just straight up speculation. And to think they come from another planet, and then, again, it would take a lot of time and resources for aliens to come here. So now we got to talk about what could drive them so much to come here. Now, humans, we know our drive. We just like to explore and then take over and fuck it up. Let us hope that we don't meet another species like us, because we will be screwed. If they get to our planet before we get to their planet, they're probably technologically beyond us, and we are probably, it just depends on their intentions. But if they intend harm on us, we won't be able to stop them. Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Duck says, I would be sad if a Sasquatch was killed by a hunter, but only because I would be thinking about their sadness. The children Sasquatch losing mom or dad, I would get over it. It's just fine. Yeah, I don't want anybody to shoot them or attack them or harass them. I certainly want to know if they're real, but because it's possible that they are human and they are people, we should respect their rights not to be shot or captured or tranked or harassed in any way. DPXM says Mandela effect could have had been pure speculation as well. LOL. Now our Earth, instead of being 81 kilometers in radius, is 6,000 something. Well, I've looked at some of that Mandela effect stuff, and it all looks to me like it's probably just people misremembering stuff. People they think that their memory's perfect or something. They're probably just misremembering. And then also, because I talked about like the one that gets me is I could swear that the character of Dolly in the movie Moonraker, I could swear she had braces. But you can go back and look. She doesn't have braces. She has pigtails and glasses, but she doesn't have braces. And I think it's just because of the way the human mind tends to. Uh, it'll fill in blanks where you need blanks filled in. Uh, you know, just in order to give you a full picture of something, and it'll fill in those blanks with whatever it thinks is the most logical filler. And to me, if I was writing that scene, as an aspiring script writer, I would totally had made damn sure that she had braces on because it makes sense for the scene. So I think that in my mind, because it makes sense for her to have braces on, my mind just kind of, because the memory's kind of faded anyway. I haven't seen that movie in very long time. I think my mind just filled in the blank. My mind identified that as a blank because it doesn't make sense that she don't have braces on, and then it filled in that blank. So I was sure she had braces on. But look, the evidence is the movie. You can go look. There's no braces in the story. There's nothing that proves Mandela effect. And people just say they don't. I remember different. I'm sure of it. Well, you might be sure of it, but you're probably misremembering stuff. That's far more likely than reality is all matrix and it's been reprogrammed. It just is. There's no evidence of that. So, I'm sure people are having a lot of fun speculating that the Mandela effect is real, but I see no actual evidence. Sasquatch Wizard and Darn Duck says, if it happens, maybe it will help solve the mystery, but I would never take the shot unless my life was at stake. Yeah. I hope other people feel the same. Tracy Bennett says, Sasquatch Wizard, do you think hunters from Canada killed Patty and her family? This was when the Patterson Gimlin footage was filmed. Yeah, somebody was telling that story, but I think a lot of people feel that that's just bullshit. But who knows? He said he does not know. Sasquatch Wizard and Darn Duck says there are ex-military stories that speak of them being ordered to take them down. Who knows? Yeah, they tell those stories and you want to believe them, but how do I know that they're telling the truth? I don't have those people on a lie detector machine, and there's no actual evidence that it occurred. I certainly hope they aren't doing that though, because if they are, to me that's a human rights abuse. They're not killing an animal; they're killing people. Michael Hayward says, Mr. Lee, like Blackfish when they took the baby orca from the mother. Sad. Yeah, Mr. Lee agrees. VPXM says, I have Moonraker, but I remember her smiling. Her braces shone like hell in the original version. Well, where are they now, though? I could swear that there were braces on her and that there was like they sparkled or something. It would make it makes so much. It would just fit the scene, but you go back and look at the movie, and there's no braces on her. Yeah, Ramiel says, "Don't kill him for science, even." Michael Hayward said, "I thank you for turning me on to that." Did Mr. Lee tell you about the movie Was it the movie Blackfish? See, Tom Paul remembers she had braces. Yeah, but go back and watch the movie. There's no braces on her. BPXN Mandela effect was real for me. It's like being among people who took the jab. Feels weird and wrong. It is weird and wrong. Don't take a jab. This is not medical advice. Apparently, there's word out there that they, in Australia, they are using military, or they're supposed to start tomorrow, I think, Monday, military force on the people in regards to the jab. What's happening? You know, what the fuck is going on out there? Yeah. Mr. Lee wonders where Michael's at. Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group. Hey, Lockbeard, wanted to say hi. Hey, man. Yeah, Joe. Mentioned you earlier. It's Mr. Lee's fault. Michael's in North Carolina. The Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Duck says, Mr. Lee, that's a very good thought. I never put my mind on that view. Yeah. Sandra Piper says, Sasquatch Wizard, good for you to help the underdog. Tracy Bennett says, I thought Mandela died years ago. Well, they named the Mandela effect after him because some people remember him dying at different times and in different years as other people. As other people remember. People remember that differently. So they named it after him. But the Mandela effect refers to a bunch of different things that people remember differently than what history records. And they say that is because we're living in some kind of holographic universe or matrix or something, or and that somebody's editing reality. I'm finding that hard to believe. As far as I know, there is no evidence. All these people just say they remember stuff, and we're supposed to just believe them. Well, I can't. Everybody's saying hello to Western New York. He says, hope it was all bad. No, it wasn't bad. Well, maybe it's bad. I don't know. People say you shouldn't send poop to Dr. Meldrum, right? And Mr. Lee asked my question that I've asked a number of guests in the past about what I would do if I found a body in order to preserve the evidence and present it to the public to get it out there before Big Brother shows up and confiscates stuff. And I was saying, well, you know, I'd probably take certain parts of the body, and one of the parts, I don't know, it really didn't have anything to do with anything other than it'd be funny, is to cut if it's a male, put it on ice and ship it to you and Molly. I assume that's the part you guys want the most. But yeah, Tracy. So have you not heard of the Mandela effect before? Man, it's some weird. That's a weird rabbit hole. Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group says Molly would want to see the penis. True. Well, unfortunately, if it's on ice, I imagine it will experience some shrinkage. Sasquatch Wizard and Iron Duck says, "Gotta call it a night, folks. Great show, Lockbeard. Good night, everyone. Good night, man." I don't know how much of a show it is. Just a random. Yeah, if it says random live, it's not necessarily cryptids or paranormal. It could be politics or science or pop culture or whatever. Um, it's not a regularly scheduled thing. Lockbeard Phenomena is going to continue to be regularly scheduled for Saturdays at 6 p.m. Central, which is midnight for Mr. Lee, I think, and is 3 p.m. for Iron Dogger up in Alaska, if she's still there. And so Lockbeard Phenomena is going to be about, high strangeness, paranormal, all that good stuff. The random live is just something I just kind of threw together one night, and I figured I'd just roll with it and just be talk about anything, whatever you guys want to talk about, because I got time. So I figured I'd jump on live. And now, if you look on my channel, on my banner, I have the name of 3 different shows on there that I'd kind of been planning for a long time. One of them would be Lockbeard No Lockdowns, and the other one is Lockbeard Stock and Barrel. The latter of which I might start at some point sooner than the other, which would be a general discussion live with a regular schedule to it. And I was thinking maybe I'd go off a suggestion, maybe to talk about a specific subject, and maybe we can dive into it one night. But discussion can go anywhere, right? Let's see. Remiel says it could be very possible that some institutions already have live Bigfoot specimens. Yeah, I've heard those rumors. They've got some captured and stuff like that. If they're real, I have no doubt the government has some captured. I have no doubt that the government is able to track them just fine with the unlimited budget and technologies at their disposal, if Bigfoot are real. Joe says, laughing my ass off. The dreaded shrinkage. Yeah, I mean, technically it'd be a tainted sample, right? Michael Haywood says that would be a package in a package. Yeah. Remiel says, later, Sasquatch Wizard. Mr. Lee says, so cool. Just wondering, did you get my previous message? Who's he saying? Who are you saying that to? I don't see one for a while. Going back to, it's not holographic. Well, now I see it. How did I miss that? Stupid YouTube. VPXM says, it's not holographic, and it sure ain't flat. I agree. But it all goes back to the Philadelphia experiment and further science, tech evolution inside black programs, and their occasional major screw-ups. Huh. Yeah, Philadelphia experiment's a weird one. We'll probably have to talk about that some night on Lockbeard Phenomena. Because it's definitely high strangeness. Sandra Piper says this is a good show. I see a lot of shows. Thank you, Sandra. Uh, not I don't know what I don't feel like I was doing anything great. We're just chatting. Mr. Lee says, Sandra, that's funny, and yes, it is. Um, yeah, I think most everybody knows um, Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group. Used to be Western New York Bigfoot Research Organization, but he changed it. Um, he he has a channel where he has two different shows. Um, one is on Wednesdays. I think he's still doing it at the same time, 6 o'clock Central Time, and that's New York Sasquatch Live with Joe and Molly. The other one is Friday nights at 7 Central, and it's called Satch Squatch Speaks. And the reason why, because I'm sure some people don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking. Molly often asks, did you see the Sasquatch's penis? How big is it? That's why I said I would send the package to Joe and Molly. So everybody check out their show, by the way. Oh, and I'll post the. Actually, I'll go ahead and post the link right now to the TV guide, because their show is listed on the TV guide, and for those that don't know, I originally made this for myself, but then I let slip I had it, and people were asking for it, so I spent some time putting more shows on it because I wasn't including shows that I don't watch. There's certain ones I just I don't like and I don't watch, but I went ahead and included all of them. So there's like several channels on there that have me blocked. And we're not getting along, but that's okay. I want this to be fair. Any show that fits in the criteria, it's got to be a live stream with a regular scheduled time that addresses the paranormal subject in some regard, and I try to favor chat interaction, because there's become this whole community of people that like to interact in chat, and they want to be able to interact with the host and the guest if there's a guest. So I'm not putting premieres on there. I mean, if I start putting premieres on there, it's going to get way further out of control than it already is. So that link will take you to it. You don't need iCloud. It'll work for you. Just give any name. You don't have to give your real name. It doesn't even matter. Just give your name, click join. There will be a drop down that comes down that says something about collaboration. Just click somewhere on the document off that drop down, and the drop down will go away, and then you can scroll through and look at a bunch of shows. Some you've never seen before, and share it with anybody. I don't care who looks at it. If you got any suggestions, message me, email me of shows that I don't have on there that you think maybe belong on there. I'll put them on there. I mentioned in the last live stream, there's a couple channels in particular. I think most people in the chat know that they don't like me and I don't like them, and I'm blocked from their channels. And I've tried reaching out to them to confirm day and time of their show, because it was looking like their show wasn't regularly scheduled, because I went there when I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't on. And so, anyway, if they will message me with the day and time of their show, I will put it on there. I don't have to like you to be on a TV guide, okay? That's I want it to be fair. I don't want anyone to be able to say I'm being biased and leaving someone off because I'm being vindictive. I'm not. I want it to be fair. If I'm going to do that thing, I'm going to make it where it's fair and useful to everybody, because some of you watch those shows, you know, and you notice I'm not there. Well, there's a reason. VPXM says truth these days apparently sucks. Yeah, everybody, if you haven't got that link, grab it, bookmark it, and whenever I update it, it updates instantly. So you'll always have the updated, version of it if you just have the bookmark the link and put it on your bookmarks bar or something. And because I kept having the problem of I couldn't remember when the shows were, or I'd forget them and I'd miss them, and I wanted to be there live. So this was my response to that. Also, my color scheme might not be good. So if you guys think I should go to a more like solid colors, because the damn thing, look cool playing with all the features, but it's kind of like a psychedelic. Joe says, okay, that's cool. I wanted a link for that TV guy. Yeah. Actually, I finally saw that message. I don't know how I missed that message. I just haven't. I thought we talked since then, but maybe not. Let's see. Joe says, you get blocked when you ask questions that make sense on some channels. Yeah, I get. Yeah. And to be fair, I think I can be a little challenging at times. Some people, whatever. But I'm gonna try to turn my light on here, because y'all can't see me. Well, that's better. Oh gosh. All right. Joe says, I welcome a challenge. You can learn from them sometimes. Yeah. Well, I think sometimes, like some of them tried to say I was being rude to the guests, by by challenging them, but because they're making these ridiculous claims sometimes, and no evidence at all, and expect you to believe it, everything they're saying, and I'm like, we're not going to get anywhere. I try not to be too much, not to go too far with it, but it's just been going on for so long, and we're getting nowhere. We're just getting stories and claims, and we need evidence, real evidence. BPXN says, "Holy crap, that just became visible again. It's the Mandela effect." No, it's the truth is that the sun goes the fuck down on a globular Earth. It's the damnedest thing, and you can actually see it go behind the horizon. Because I've seen them videos, like people made these fake videos where the sun shrinks into the distance, and they say that's what's actually going on, but it doesn't look like that to the naked eye. So you have to do some special magic to make it visible, the correct thing that's happening. I'm like, how about we just believe our own eyes in this case? Millions of people every day watch the sun come up and go down. Jen's here. Howdy. She says, howdy, everyone. What's the current topic? God, I don't know. Bigfoot, aliens, Mandela effect, government conspiracies. Star Trek was just kind of a starter, topic, Jen. because I'm really interested in Star Trek and kind of would like to flesh out some scripts and stuff and write. And I have a lot to say about uh, poor writing in Hollywood. Just horrible writing. Joe says, I'll never block you. There's nothing wrong with reasonable questions. Well, thank you. B. Lynn wandered in. Hello. Jen, Tribbles. The trouble with Tribbles. Yes. Yeah. I gave them to the Klingons, sir. You remember that? VPXM Western, just my 2 cents. All questions are viable. Only paradigm is different. Yeah. Well, I can't say that it's anything great. We're just going on about random stuff, and most of the people who come here come from the Lockbeard Phenomena show chat, so they're asking mostly about paranormal type stuff. The random lives are meant to be just about any subject, though. Anything you want to talk about. Because I want to try and get in some more people interested in the channel. Yeah. You remember that one? The Tribbles. Kirk was getting kind of aggressive with him too. He was mad. He's like, "Where are the Tribbles?" I gave them to the Klingons, sir. I wasn't sure how much in character it was, though, for Spock to play the game. Well, it was this guy. I feel like Spock would actually just tell him. But whatever, it played into the scene. So Sandra Piper says, Lockbeard, you have changed in your tact. You're doing a good job asking questions and being nice about it. You're one of the good guys. Thank you, Sandra. The chat just did a jump there. Is that the name of the episode? Quadritriticale? That's like their type of wheat or whatever it was, the grain. You and I just lost everyone else in the chat. Nobody. Sandra Piper says Star Trek's one of my favorites. VPXM says I'm still cleaning my car. I haven't been part of live chats in a while. Well, hang around. B-Land says, Lockbeard, you have a good format for this channel. No doubt your subscriptions will quickly grow. I hope so. Yeah, I've been kind of laying low out here on the farm, trying to figure out what to do. And I played around for a long time with starting to do stuff on my YouTube channel. I mean, for a very long time, like even back in 2005. And I just never did it. I'm like, oh, got to do this, got to prepare that. And I just never did it. So finally I did it because I'm really not doing much right now. And I wish I was doing more, job-wise, but the world is kind of screwed up right now, and it's, whatever. Quadra Triticale, yeah. Yeah. Michael Haywood says, Joe, did you and Molly make it to the steakhouse? Beelan agrees with Sandra. Yeah, it was the grain, Joe says, yeah. Joe says they made it to the steakhouse. He ate a porterhouse as big as his head. Awesome. Jeeps must be the most intricate boxes on four wheels. Yeah. Sandra remembers that episode of Star Trek. Remiel says, in my younger years, I had a poster in my room wall of an artist's interpretation of the Enterprise with its shuttle in the foreground. Yeah. I've been playing around with some designs for the ship for my story, because I have in my head an idea of what this ship is going to be like, and it's like nothing that they have on any of the Star Trek shows. But what I really would like to find, like, I guess, like on the Star Trek Online game, you can design shits, but I don't know how much freedom you have in what you can design, because, you know, I have some very specific differences in mind. I don't play online games really, so I don't know. I don't know if I want to get on the Star Trek Online just to try and design an image of the ship. I might give it a try. I don't know. But you know, it's just something I'm playing around with, probably wasting my time, because if I ever did flesh out the pilot episode script and get it copyrighted and then send it to CBS, they would probably be like, well, this just isn't woke enough. You need to wake this up. I'm like, what do you want from me? I have an entire race of aliens that are transgender, every last one of them. But what do you want of me? But for me, it's not a political issue. It's just the way they are designed. You know, it's one of the interesting differences of alien species that you might find out in space. Not all of them are going to be like us, right? But they'd probably want there to be some political uprising or some kind of conflict. Somebody's discriminating against them, you know, or some bullshit. That don't happen in my story. It's just the way they are, and nobody gives a fuck. But these people don't seem to like the fact that most people don't give a shit. They don't care if you're transgender or gay. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. We just don't. But they want us to either be hateful or to be focused on that all the time. Well, dude, live freely among us. We don't care. You're one of us. You're a person. We're a person. But they want it to be an issue. They want to make an issue where there isn't one, is what I'm saying. For most people. VPXM says, what do you think would be best outside shape for a spacecraft? That was back in 2001. I was in this forum online where I kept trying to have this discussion with people talking about what I called the sphere ship. And it was spherical. And the reason is because the sphere is the most is the strongest shape that you can have. So if you get hit by an asteroid or something else, you're most likely to be safe inside. This was a massive shit, and it was funny the debates that rose from that, because I was proposing that humanity needs to get their shit together and build this fucking thing, and a lot of people go out into space in this gigantic ship, massive, huge ship, so that one, we can get on with it exploring space, and two, all our eggs aren't in one basket, right? If an asteroid big enough hits the planet Earth, we all fucking die, right? So we needed to get on with it. But people had all kind. They were saying, no, you can't use those resources. Those belong to Earth. I'm like, well, some of the people from Earth are on the ship. Don't they have right to use some of the resources from Earth? It was crazy. It went wild. Like the people would argue against it for just crazy reasons. Mr. Lee, I know I said that in one of these chats. Yes, there damn sure will be whales on board the ship. And supposedly there were whales on some of the ships already in the Star Trek universe. They called it cetacean ops. And supposedly there was the whole idea that they were actually working. They were performing some kind of navigational function or something. But they never showed them. I think there was a part where Geordie LaForge told the Ferengi, "Hey, have you seen the dolphins?" I guess they had dolphins too. Like somebody said online that the whales were in command of the dolphins or some crazy shit like that. But yeah. But having them on board had for me has other reasons, you know. But if it's true, like, because in when that whale probe showed up in the movie, and you know, what if you run across that probe again? Well, you're gonna need some whales to say, "Hey, would you stop that shit?" But maybe you want to have this, you know, this small ocean inside the ship, you know, with some life in there to have some piece of home for the characters. I'm thinking there could actually be a beach inside the ship. I was also making room for a forested area in part of the ship, and I wanted to have Sasquatch involved in this story, and have a pretty significant involvement in the story. You know, at what point are we getting too far out of Star Trek's norm, though? Actually, I was working on ideas for several different intelligent species from Earth on the ship. But so far in the Star Trek universe, they really haven't explored if there is anything else intelligent on Earth but humans. But I wanted to introduce the concept and actually have them living and communicating with humans on the ship, maybe even serving as officers. One of us. Yeah, exactly, Danny. Welcome. Yeah, the Borg used cubes and spears. Yeah. Yeah, and the Borg play a big part in the story that I want to write, you know, because it really just, it's notes and outline, and mostly it's in my head, you know. The Borg are really important, and I think that I really favor the idea that the Borg are important. Also, Janeway gets stopped. In my version, Janeway in the final episode of Voyager gets stopped by the time agents. She doesn't go back in time. Voyager doesn't come back early. And then the reasoning behind that is that there's consequences for Voyager coming back early from that change in the timeline. It results in the Borg destroying the Federation. So that's why the time agents stop Janeway. In my version. In their version, they didn't stop her. Voyager comes back early, and the agents who showed up for other shit in the series didn't do anything. And it just don't even make any sense that they didn't do anything. Danny Stanton, oh my God, that movie I remember. Yeah, she remembers that movie. Remiel, a space ark. Yeah, it's basically what this Star Trek ship kind of serves as, but also the Spear ship I was talking about in 2001, because it was going to have multiple nested cylinders inside it with tremendous amount of area, multiple Earths of worth fan space on the inside of the cylinders, spinning force, artificial gravity, kinds of different habitats, and to save all the life on Earth, and then explore and maybe find a new planet and seed it with our system if it doesn't have its own. VPXM says, person statement, thank you for at least sounding normal. Who? Personal? For me? I, I sound normal? Not everyone. Some people are in deep underground bases. The warship was creepy, good visual. Jen, you should look at how they made those ships. At least originally, how they made those ships. The models they made. Yes, Mr. League 3PO. Maybe Danny. I was thinking of including level of psychic ability in them. Not to think that's what the reality can Star Trek, anyways. You know. So I was thinking, given the Bigfoot psychic ability and story kind of behind, why this is the first time we see him. They don't want to get on these ships and leave the planet until they see this new ship that was built with this huge ecosystem on board that would allow them to feel comfortable venturing into space with other humans. And even work into it that most humans still don't believe in them. Because I think that should be a thing. And again, TV and movies kind of put ideas into people's heads. So people see Star Trek and they're like, okay, Star Trek has Bigfoot. Bigfoot, like, stay out of sight so well that even people in the 24th century don't believe in them. Maybe I should give this some more thought. Plant that seed in people's heads. I think I missed that one. Danny, they can have issues with the dog man. I don't know about putting dog man in there. I don't know about that one, but although Star Trek already has an alien species that look like they're Cations or whatever they call them, it says artificial gravity don't do shit around whacking your head. NASA came up with this for another financial reason. I don't know, man. If you have a very large structure spinning the steady rate, Gravitron, it's a amusement park ride, and you're not tumbling around like you're in a dryer. A dryer's just going too slow. If you're going at the right speed and you keep it steady, you ought to be fine. Since as originals Soyuz station from the 70s tried that as well. Of course, it didn't work. Okay. I just don't know. Star Wars has one. Oh, the spear, the Death Star. Yeah. I mean, the spear just makes more sense if you're not worried about it being aerodynamic. It's traveling through space. And, it's going to be the strongest structure. Uh, so it makes more sense. Anyhow, with the moon and the little bit of evidence that seems to indicate that the moon is a hollow metallic set, has to be artificially constructed by somebody. Um, Makes sense to use that shape if you're not planning on landing. You know. Oh, you're talking about big Chewbacca's a version of Bigfoot. Yeah, but they're an alien species. I was thinking about an actual, like they're supposed to be actual Bigfoot from Earth. I just thought it'd be a cool part of the whole thing. Remiel says, yes, Lockbeard, the spear is thought of as a universally perfect shape. Also, symbolically, though, some concepts of interstellar craft, donut shape, or wheel with a hub. Yeah, because they can spin it, and because you don't really need if you're not worried about getting impacted by anything really big. But I was thinking with a ship that big, you'd probably want to go with a really strong external shell. You're going to have a hard time maneuvering, to move, to miss objects. So, yeah. How would you dress a Sasquatch that can walk around naked? You mean like on a Star Trek ship? Because, I thought about it, and I was thinking, trying to go with the whole idea that in the future, like Gene Roddenberry had these ideas about people wouldn't be worried about certain stuff in the future, and I thought, well, maybe roll with that, and so that means that the Sasquatches living on the ship would not be wearing clothing, and nor would the Ferengi women, because if you remember from Star Trek, in their culture, women aren't supposed to wear clothes. But you'd have to watch your camera angle for TV if that was made into a show, though. But yeah. But why should I bother, trying to write for a Hollywood they're going to interfere. They're going to try and change things to be woke. This is just a really bad time. A Bigfoot Star Trek crew member. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I wasn't sure I was going to make them an actual crew, like a member, like an officer, but that there would be a group of them living on the ship, and include the psychic element. Danny Stanton says old texts say the Bigfoot came from space with the Anunnaki. Ever watch Ancient Aliens? Yeah, but I think Ancient Aliens is full of shit though. um, yeah, that whole Anunnaki thing and alien. I mean, they just look like a big hairy human to me. So VPXM says how else would they get good ratings? Yeah. So you think naked Ferengi women would be good for would be a good thing to show? They don't they you almost want to Ferengi are pretty ugly. Going back to the Tribbles, y'all remember the episode where that was DS9 where they again come out with the time travel crap again, and the crew ended up on the old Enterprise, and when the Tribbles, and then they got the Tribbles accidentally got transferred to the future with them when they came back. They should keep them around and send them every so often. Transport a Tribble onto a Klingon ship as a practical joke. I was wondering if you guys could hear that goose. Every so often he makes a little racket. So yeah, there's one. There's one. He lives here. Um, he sleeps right back here in this shed behind me. His name is actually Duck, though. Yeah. Yeah, Sandra and PPXN. Yeah, there's one goose that lives here. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah. Although we got real watchdogs here too. Um, Livestock guardian dogs. So I'm surprised y'all haven't had a chance to hear them yet, because most nights around this time the coyotes start making a racket, and then the dogs start responding, telling them to shut up. Michael just had to check for your sanity. Yeah, you're perfectly sane. Usually I have at least one door open on the van so you can hear when the goose starts making ruckus. Well, what else, y'all? What else is going on tonight? No, Mr. Lee, I don't have a Pizzly bear. I wouldn't want to get anywhere near a Pizzly bear, let me tell you. I mean, they're half grizzly and half polar bear, and both of them are deadly animals. VPXM, man, this is a good channel. I really like the conversation. Subscribe. Well, thank you. Well, like I said earlier, the random live will just be whatever y'all want to talk about. Really, the titles will just be kind of a suggestion, and we'll just roll with it, right? And then they'll just be whenever I have time to jump on. And then Lockbeard Phenomena is meant to be specifically discussing paranormal subjects. Canada goose bit you on the ass once, Joe? Yeah, some of them be real mean. This one is a Canadian goose, but he usually doesn't he don't do anything like that. He won't let you touch him. He's kind of a scaredy cat. Jen says, any thoughts on the guys last night saying Bigfoot is a giant sloth and all the footprints aren't real? What show was that on? Did I miss that? So last night that would have been, was it Bigfoot Odyssey? No. I don't know what show was on. Did I miss something? Because I was on last night, but Odyssey was on. See, Odyssey, like I don't know when their show's on. Like I got one of their shows on the TV Guide, but I don't know about all of their shows. Like it seemed like they're kind of random too, so I don't got it on the schedule. Like my random lives aren't listed on the schedule. Lockbeard Phenomena is because it's scheduled for every Saturday night at the same time. But giant sloth, man, I can't think of any even like there's no evidence, of course, and any of the sightings don't seem to indicate that. Like people say they look like a type of person, like a human. So I don't know. The footprints not being real. I mean, I'm a little skeptical of some of it, but there's just so many of them, and Dr. Meldrum seems to be a credible scientist in the matter, and so it seems like the footprints are, real. Michael Haywood says the Pizzly Bear in lunch mode might present a problem. Yes. Joe says, never been so scared of anything so much as a goose. It's funny, like a lot of animals will not jack with a goose. I don't know whether they got the bluff down or something. I don't know, and they can beat on you a little bit. Tom Paul Cajun says, Lockbeard, what do you think about the researchers who claim they start peeing blood after a time of researching? I haven't even heard of that. Really? I mean, is there proof? Or how they know it's the researching doing it to them? Maybe it's something they ate in the woods. But I mean, I haven't even heard of that one. That's wild. Yeah, I figured it was Odyssey. Gary announced they're changing stuff up and adding new shows and taking away some. Yeah, I still probably won't be there because they got me banned. Remy says it was about the chupacabras in the Amazon. They had guests from that region. Well, I mean, chupacabra even. Is there any proof that there's any kind of different animal that is? I mean, what if it's just a freaking coyote or something that did some of these things, or some other animal? So, yeah. BPXM says, here on acreage, biggest wake-up call I had at 11 p.m. when I came up to my window, rolled shades down, biggest freaking moose head staring at me on the other side, late to work next morning. Yeah, a moose is a big freaking animal. I don't think people realize how big a freaking moose is until they see it in person. The TV don't do it justice. That goose, she was mean. Yeah, some gooses are mean. Jen says, real true. My feeling is they just have different cryptids. Tom Paul says, yes. Joe says he thinks the goose was guarding a nest or something. Yeah, maybe. Don't mess with the mama. Um, it's something that doesn't get talked about very much. Are you talking about the chupacabra or the peeing blood? The peeing blood, huh? I just I don't know what to make of that. I mean, even if they proved it by whipping it out and filling up a cup for you, how do you know why they're peeing blood? You know, maybe they just got some other problem going on. That's interesting claim. Maybe one person made it and then some other one made the claim and then others heard it and said, yeah, that's cool. That's another one of those things that we can claim, but no one can really prove it isn't what we say it is. And it's kind of like mind speak. People can say that they heard mind speak. Well, it's a safe lie, right? If it's a lie. It's safe because you can say it and no one can really ask you for proof because they have to believe what you say, you know. And so I don't know. I mean, I've never experienced it, so I don't know that it's real. And if I did experience mind speak, um, maybe it's not Bigfoot. Maybe I'm just schizophrenic. You know. I mean, it's just how do you prove these things? You can't just believe everybody what they say. And, you know, and of course, some people are going to get mad, you know, because you're challenging what they say. Well, are they mad because they're legitimately angry that you're calling them a liar? Or are they mad because you're not buying their bullshit, you know? Let me back up a little bit. Jen, quite possible. I don't think they have the right concept of what a Bigfoot is. Jen says that too. Remiel. A lot probably got lost in translation too. So they were speaking. They were speaking. They were being translated, or English was their second language. I guess. Yeah, I don't watch Bigfoot Odyssey, so I used to, but you know, you can't ask challenging questions, and they're all uppity about cursing. Um, so, and then they banned me. So I just, why should I watch? You know, plus I don't have time. I can't watch. Like you look at all those shows. There's over 80 shows on the TV Guide. I can't watch all that. Remiel says, Jen, yeah, I think they weren't able to articulate their thoughts and ideas well. It's possible. They're from another country and it was a language barrier a little bit. It would be cool if giant sloths were still around. And that's one of those animals I think that they should, you know, try to bring back. because they should be here. They just got killed off by a major impact event about 13,000 years ago. So they should be there, but they got killed off. Joe says, "I'm sorry what I heard today. I just couldn't believe on Bigfoot Odyssey. What did you hear? Were they on today too, or tonight, or I don't know? Or are you talking about what they're talking about?" Jen said one guy was translating for the other. It was difficult all around. Uh, yeah. So, are you talking about a different show, Joe, than they're talking about with the translator? So I can't keep. I know they have like their late show and stuff like that, but I wasn't able to determine uh, that there was a regular schedule for it. And to be, I mean, I didn't make too much effort to ask. I figured that since I had uh, Bigfoot Odyssey's researchers report on the TV guide on Wednesday night, that that was at least an entry, and then if someone goes and sees it, they can probably figure out if they subscribe, then they can at least be notified of the other shows when they come on. But if they tell me, if they tell me they got another regularly scheduled show, I'll put it on a TV guide. That's not a problem. Um, Joe says, I'm not going to ridicule the guy or say his name, but the premise sounded pretty far fetched to me. And yes, Lockbeard, different show. Okay. One show was last night and one was this afternoon. Yeah, I haven't been watching Bigfoot Odyssey, so I really can't comment too extensively on what y'all saw. Um, but I do recall, guests on there saying some pretty crazy stuff. Um, and I was really irritated. I mean, to be honest, I was irritated with the complaints about cussing because, well, for a couple reasons. One, we all got on that kindergarten school bus and we learned every bad word and every dirty joke in a pretty short order. Okay, these kids, they know what cussing is. They could probably outcuss you. You're not saving the kids. Now that being said, yes, I get it. They're trying to maintain that child friendly classification on YouTube, so I can get that. But all that gets thrown way the fuck out the window when you have Zasky on there on a regular basis dropping F bombs and you let it slide. Okay, who cares what people are typing in chat if the dude on screen is dropping F bombs on video? What you done lost me. um yeah. So I don't know. I remember seeing Doctor, well, supposedly a Doctor Johnson, and his crazy story, saving the last of the Bigfoot on their planet by helping them get through a portal. Somehow he can operate the portal. And I remember Carrie asking him, say, "Hey, can I come out there and like see?" And then this is when he started to come up with his excuse, right? For why, if Carrie or anybody else comes out there, they're not going to see shit. He started talking about how, well, if you don't accept it, then you're not going to be able to see anything. Oh, dude was lying out his ass. Dr. Johnson, you want to come up in here and try and convince me otherwise, go ahead. But Michael A. with the Bigfoot Odyssey earlier today was really different. VPXM says agree. If it's part 8F of a language, it must be of a language. It should be used. Okay, yeah, used it. It should be used. If they don't like it, it's purely their disposition. Joe says, I will flat out say it. Matthew Johnson is a straight up nut with no credibility. Yeah, I can't imagine anyone believing him. I guess some people do believe him. But I mean, you just knew right there on the show as soon as Carrie, because I'm sure he knew that Carrie was actually a guy who would actually probably come out there if he had the opportunity, because he does that kind of stuff sometimes. He actually goes places, and of course he knew that if Carrie did come out there, he wasn't going to see shit. So now he had to come up with some reason why Carrie wasn't going to see anything if he came out there. So it was this. I can't remember how he worded it exactly, but it was if you have something about your mindset or whatever, you wouldn't see it. It wouldn't work or something. I don't know. And I think he moved. There was something about him moving involved, or he had to go move somewhere. VPXM says, sorry, using mobile phone, plastic screen, it sucks sometimes. Yeah, it's all right. I usually try to decipher because, that and talk to text and autocomplete. Like autocomplete will fill in things like really crazy sometimes. You're like, what are you trying to do to me, phone? You did that on purpose. Okay. So I don't know how long y'all want to go tonight. I've been on here for 3 hours. Y'all got anything else you want to talk about? I mean, basically most of this crap I don't believe. Mandela effect and Dogman. I mean, I haven't seen. There isn't a university scientist cataloging footprints from Dogman that I'm aware of. If there's all these dogmen running around out there, you'd think we'd have some footprint evidence consistent and in form and professional, able to determine that it isn't a known animal or something like that. Um, heck, VPXM says, start talking about Black Ops. There is not enough beer in your town. What? I think there's too much beer in this town. You just sober some of these people up. I don't drink at all myself, VPXM. Just not something I do anymore. No crazy, story behind it really. It's just I just kind of stopped and don't like doing it. As far as Black Ops, like Black Ops on Bigfoot, or like some of the stories where they say they've been ordered to attack and kill Bigfoot. I don't know that those are true. Joe says, that would be like me guaranteeing that someone would see the individual I saw and then saying, well, it's because you're here is why you don't see him. He doesn't trust you. Yeah. So, I guess find out, what's Matthew getting out of it, I just don't like those kind of things going on where these people they're just out there telling this just to sell a book and make money, and they don't actually care about finding out anything that's true. So they just figure they can make up whatever they want, right? Because who's gonna be able to prove them wrong? And some people want to eat it up. Some people want to eat that stuff up. Yeah, so I don't. I saw someone being interviewed on one show saying that the story that Matthew Johnson told was pretty much the same as what was told in one of the Star Wars novels. I'm not familiar with the novel, but I don't think he gave the name, but he said it was basically ripped off from a Star Wars novel. Remiel says, what about your opinions on the latest incursions of UAPs blatantly surrounding carrier groups and nuclear facilities? Well, I think somebody out there, or somebody, I guess we could all agree that somebody's operating these UAPs, right? But who is it? We don't know. Are they surrounding the carrier, or are they escorting it? But then you hear the stories about how they've been able to shut down nuclear missiles or fiddle with stuff. And like, if it is somebody else, it would appear that our government has pissed them off. If we're playing around with nukes, and nuclear missile will make a bad day for anybody that's in the area. So maybe these people operating the UAVs want to put a stop to it because it's their world too. Why would aliens come here and give a shit if we got nukes, right? This is part of one of the thoughts I have behind why I think that the gray aliens that people talk about seeing, if real, are actually a race of people, and they live here, and they're just good at staying out of sight, and they have very advanced technology, and they just don't want to interact with us any more than Bigfoot does for the most part. And that's why they care about nukes being used, because it is their world too, and they don't want nukes being used. So that makes more sense to me than aliens showing up and deciding they want to stop us from using nukes or any of that. VPXN says talk till noon would turn blue. Um, moon, stupid autocorrect. Okay, that makes sense. I talk till to the moon would turn blue. I'm still not sure. Joe says, never seen a UFO or UAP, whatever they want to call them now. I would like to. I haven't seen anything up close, but the only thing I've seen, one night I was looking up at the stars, and there was a star there. I mean, it looked just like a star, but then it just shot off, took off, and was gone. I mean, it had to be moving at just unbelievable speeds, whatever it was. But it was stationary, and then it took off. So who knows what that is? I mean, most people seem to lean towards an alien craft, but maybe it's some kind of physical phenomena that we don't understand yet. Maybe um, or maybe a life form that can look like a light and can move at incredible speeds. Or maybe I was just having a stroke. Joe says, I guess I need to look up more often. I mean, maybe we all should, I think I think that's a kind of a problem with today's society a little bit, is people aren't really, they're not looking up. They're looking down at their phones, or, looking where they're going is a good thing. Or, you're driving down the road, you got to look at the road, and then you immediately go into a building. Just our society just doesn't do probably near as much looking up as ancient civilizations did. So, uh, it reminds me of the movie uh, Tremors 3, I believe it was. Yeah, Tremors 3, where he's talking to the girl who runs the store, and he's trying to get her to take a ride with him, and she's trying to turn down the ride, and he was talking to her about looking at the clouds. There's some nice clouds to look at out here in the desert, and then they're talking about, she's like, I don't have time to look up, and he's like, you don't have time to look up? VPXM says early 90s got me into major research. Late evening, me, roommates, and a few neighbors all seen something green looking like Star Trek's ending of a warp hole. Green, huh? Weird. Northeast. Correction. Huh. Romeo says, experts say they are solid in structure, not like a plasma or a light show. You mean the UAPs? Well, and then of course, who's experts? I mean, if they're, these people, how do they know? How can they call themselves experts? And how do they know what they are? The UAPs, yeah. How do they know? They don't, I mean, I just don't see how they know that, or how they could even call themselves experts. It's just like with the Bigfoot community, most people will say, nobody's an expert. We haven't even had our hands on one yet. So So yeah, BPXM, exactly, experts, LOL. Yeah. Or we could go back to Ancient Aliens TV show. Ancient alien theorists say, and it sounds like, your average viewer is watching that, and it sounds like, that sounds like someone knowledgeable that I should believe is about to say something. But the entire show is absolute bullshit. All of it. Like it's all, they show actual things that are evidence of somebody creating all that ancient stuff, but there's no evidence whatsoever in that show proving that aliens were involved at all. And it's much more likely that it was just an ancient civilization of humans that were capable of doing a lot more than we give them credit for today. But they jump right to aliens for the show because there's a whole community of people out there that want really badly to believe that aliens were here and they did all this stuff and helped humans or genetically modified humans or whatever. And yeah, that show was such bullshit. Jen says, last week I noticed a silver oblong vertical craft moving along cloud edge. They gone. I don't know, wasn't a plane though. Joe says, to me, in order to call yourself an expert, you need to know everything about a subject. Yeah, or at least have a certain degree of knowledge, confirmed science, um, but there's just nothing, as far as I know. Maybe the government's got some experts. I don't know, on Bigfoot and UAPs. VPXM says ancient aliens ideas are good, agenda totally opposite. Yeah, I'm just not buying it. I'm not saying the aliens couldn't have dropped by, maybe, but for them to say all that stuff in that show, everything, it's all about aliens, all of it. Or humans just did some great things in the past. Remiel says the findings were from the Pentagon and government hearings on the subject, the UAP task force. Well, that gets us back to that report, right? What was it, 10 or 9 pages or whatever, finally admitting that they even existed, but then claiming they don't know what they are. I don't believe anything. The only part of that I think I believe is that there is the admission that they exist. And I think they only admitted they exist because there's too many witnesses and cameras now. They can't hide the fact that they exist anymore. And beyond that, they probably know a lot more about what they are than they're telling us. There's just no reason for me to believe them when they say they don't know what they are or anything they say about them. So, yeah. Oops. There we go. VPXM says, theory, what if humans really were a lot smarter back then, where today most are just social manipulated robots? There may be a degree of possibility of that. I mean, we've been existed in this form for a very long time, and we've made, in the last couple thousand years, we've made a lot of advancement, And in the previous 100,000 years, well, that leaves room for there to be perhaps 20 different rises in civilization, just like ours or equivalent, that fell and then rose again and then fell. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what happened, but it certainly appears that there was a major worldwide civilization until the Younger Dryas impact occurred roughly 13,000 years ago. Um, Now, they were very different from us, apparently. I mean, they built all these megalithic structures, these pyramids, and all this stuff that, it's a different culture, and apparently, I would say a different technology. Because, I mean, why do you build all these gigantic stones? And this was that thing in Ancient Aliens, that point that I thought was a good point when they said, why would they build them out of big stones unless, such obscenely big stones, unless it was somehow easier for them to do it that way? Because we don't do that. We build stuff out of bricks and cinder blocks, smaller pieces, because it's easier for us to do it that way. We would never cut these gigantic stones and build stuff, from just obscenely big stones. It's too hard to do it that way. So it makes me think that they probably had a handle on anti-gravity technology, or somehow they were able to do that. Because why would they do it that way? I thought that was a good point, but I don't know that for sure. It's just really interesting. They built a tremendous amount of stuff out of just obscenely big stones. And I don't think a bunch of slaves with rollers and ropes did that. It's just ridiculous. The only way they built that much with stones that big was if they had some kind of they had to have anti-gravity technology. They just had to have. Joe says, if the government ever gave full disclosure on anything, I would have a stroke. Yeah. Yeah. Jen says, then you're safe, Joe. Live long and prosper. Remiel says, exactly. They know, and a long time ago, UAPs, but they now give hints that they aren't human tech. Yeah, they said they weren't of this earth or something like that. But see, that makes me think they're lying. That may be a lie, right? Because they lied. I mean, they've lied about the very existence for decades. So maybe they want us to think that they're not from Earth instead of thinking what I think they are, and I think they are a civilization of people. That ancient civilization I'm talking about, I think it's possible some of them did survive with their technology and chose to just kind of lay low and stay outside of the rest of us, and that they are a type of human. Now, if that's true, I don't have proof of this. It's just my hypothesis, right? If that's true, the government probably would not want us to know that. So now that they've admitted UAPs are real, they're going to tell us a lie about what they probably are, or make us think they're alien, they're from somewhere else. For some reason they want to hide this, and I don't really know why. I mean, power or whatever, but control. But I imagine whoever the people are operating the UAPs, they apparently do want to remain hidden to some extent, but then they show themselves sometimes. So I don't know what's going on. VPXM says, not only our anti-gravity understanding, but also matter manipulation in many ancient rock waterways where it looks like rock had been remolded for something. Yeah, they just they must have had some advanced understanding and stuff. I mean, we look at the stone structures and we think, oh, these people they weren't they weren't as advanced as us, or they were more advanced as us. And perhaps one day when we get as advanced as them, we'll stop building shit with steel girders. Although those probably would have degraded and worn away after 13,000 years, so maybe they did have them, but um, maybe we would start building stuff like they did if we had the technical ability that they did. I don't know. Tom Paul Cajun says nothing we have been taught is 100% true, in my opinion. I think so. I think they've lied about a lot of stuff. I mean, even about how the universe actually functions, that quantum physics. I mean, I've talked a little bit about that on previous shows, and you know, that I think that quantum physics is largely mistaken about how things work, and I think they want us to not know how the universe really works. And I don't even want to try and dive into the possible reasons why, but it takes power away from us. Remiel says, Lockbeard, yeah, that's a fascinating hypothesis. Very well could be possible. A technologically advanced civilization hidden on Earth, but remain hidden for some purpose. Yeah. Maybe they want to maintain their technological superiority. They don't want us to know what they have, or to even know that there is something to have, that they're even here. We don't know where they live. I mean, some people think they live in, they're thinking they're hiding somewhere physically. Maybe they are able to shift their energies and their frequencies in a way to become invisible, but they seem to be able to move at obscene speeds. They could be underground. They could be in the ocean. They could be in a lot of places. We can only guess right now, though. But at least we got an admission they're real. But even that could be fake. I don't know. Tom Paul Cajun says most of what they tell us as truth is actually theoretical. Yeah, in quantum physics, like dark matter. They've come up with this idea of dark matter out there, and people seem to be accepting it as it's an actual thing that's out there, because according to they've interpreted their observations to mean that there must be a bunch of matter out there to justify what they're seeing. Or trash all that, jump over here to if you want to know how it really works, I only know one person presenting the appropriate interpretation. At least I think so. And that would be Ken Wheeler, who he's got his YouTube channel, he's got his book, The Missing Secrets of Magnetism. That he's done multiple editions of, and he does articles talking about how it really works, and he actually makes fun of these people, as he calls them The cult of bumping particles, because everything's a particle to them, even though they haven't actually proven that anything like an electron it actually exists as a particle. There's something going on there, but it's not a particle, you know. Well, he tries to explain all that. He seems to have a passion for teaching people about how all that works. I've only got so much patience for that. It's anyway, and grand unification, like that whole deal. They're saying, well, they can't seem to figure out grand unification. And instead of going back to the drawing board and thinking, okay, we've created these puzzle pieces. These puzzle pieces won't fit together. Why won't they fit together? Well, maybe because at least one of the puzzle pieces that you have created through inappropriate interpretation of your observations is wrong. So you need to go back to the drawing board and try to think outside. You're stuck in a box. Stop listening to people like Stephen Hawking and oh Jesus. One of the puzzle pieces. That's why you can't. But if you go to Ken Wheeler and there's no need for unification because the theory is already unified because it's correct. But, yeah. Joe says if Atlantis existed, and I believe it is entirely possible it did, they had a technology that has been lost to us. Actually, I don't know if you may have heard of, it appears they think they've discovered where the city that would have been called Atlantis, that fits the description of Atlantis and is in Africa, the eye of the Sahara, or the eye of Africa. Seems to fit the description. And if you look at like satellite images of the land, you can see where water, you can see it clearly had water flow over all this land. And I know that the land comes up and down because, the land rises and falls in different places. And there apparently it has. And that's why it's above water right now. Everybody was thinking, oh, it's under the sea. Well, it may very well have been under the sea at one point. And it was certainly at sea level at some point. There's whales there's whale bones in the damn desert over there. So it damn sure was under the sea, or had sea at least coming. Anyway, they think that's where Atlantis is. It seems to fit all the descriptions of where Atlantis was. Let's see. BPXM says our outside science started with first step creating energy from matter, 1940s. Second step was manipulating energy from matter. Initial screw-ups created Mandela effect in local space in whatever CERN. Yeah, I just don't know that their Mandela effect is real though. And CERN for that matter. Like people were worried about CERN doing all this crazy stuff, and I think they're worrying for nothing. They think it's going to create a black hole. It's like, no, it's not going to create a black hole. They think they're bumping particles together, but there are no particles. That's what I'm trying to say here. Those particles they're not. Talking about other things, fields, energy, frequency. PPXM, matter from energy. Holy shit, Google. Yeah. VPXM first step was, we already read that one, didn't we? Or did we? Matter from not to force. So it was late 80s creating matter from energy. Early experiments created matter. Yeah, I don't see any evidence of Mandela effect though, man. Yeah, damn autocorrect. Observations indicate that they may be under the oceans. Atlantis whose observations? Um, I mean, everyone's talked about maybe Atlantis being under the ocean because of the story, but it sure looks to me like they've figured it out. Like because it really was just a story, right? How do we know Atlantis really existed? But this place, the Eye of the Sahara, actually fits the description so closely that, and the fact that we can see that there was water had flowed over that land. I mean, it's obvious it flowed over the land, and whale bones laying on dry land up at, no one dragged that whale up in there. Okay, the sea was there. So I think they found it. I think they found Atlantis, and it's on dry land. I think it's like 1,200 feet elevation. I can't remember exactly because the land has rose up too, I guess. But yeah. Hey Sharon, welcome. We're almost 4 hours into this shit show. She says greetings from Belgium. VPXM says CERN is just a huge oven for particle shooting range. Yeah, I mean, they're just wasting money is all they're doing. They're not going to discover shit from that because they don't even understand what the hell is going through that damn thing. Remiel says the craft scene can efficiently operate in all environments. Transmedium travel, and are oftenly seen plunging into the waters. Amphibious. See, that's probably what we need to shoot for. It's useful. Be able to travel in whatever you got to travel. Sandra says to Sharon, she's getting better every day. How you feeling? Joe says, yeah, Troy used to be a mythical city until they found it. Yeah. Sharon's really good to hear. Having trouble sleeping. VPXM says, Remiel, 100% true. Once you use shields for matter omission, you can also shoot down volcanoes. Yeah, I imagine. So I guess you're referring to people seeing them come out of volcanoes. BPXM says Star Trek been rich here, been rich there, done that, or decided it was not worth the effort. I'm not sure. I think your phone is making up its own wording there. VPXM. Yeah, if y'all haven't heard about the discovery, the correlations with the descriptions of Atlantis at the Eye of the Sahara, or it's either Eye of the Sahara or Eye of Africa, but it's very, very interesting. I think they found it. So Sandra Piper says, Sharon, I use a cannabis oil that helps you sleep at night. Ben Rich was from Skunkworks. So you're talking about a guy named Ben Rich? It's not a name I recognize. Joe says, well, this has been absolutely fascinating, but I have to go to work tomorrow. I'll see y'all another time. Good shows you have going here. Lockbeard, keep it up. Good night, all. Thanks for coming, Joe. I think I'm going to try and shut her down anyway. I've been here almost 4 hours. So you have a good night. See you probably on your show. It's probably next time I'll see you in chat. Well, unless anybody's got anything else, I think I will shut her down. So everybody be safe and definitely talk to you Saturday night, 6 p.m. Central. Be sure and check out Joe's channel. He's got 2 shows a week. And so sometimes he has a random live too, I think. And then check out Mogia Monster. He has his show Tuesdays at 9 Central and 10 Central. And check out the Beast guys. They got a pretty good show. And I'm going to put the TV guide link in chat again. So if you use that link, it'll take you there and it'll show you 80 plus paranormal oriented shows. Bigfoot, cryptids, paranormal, this ghosts, UFOs, and then, all kinds of weird stuff. So they're all live streams. They all have a regular time. So maybe you'll find something new you'll like. So thank y'all. Have a good night.